The Great Hall of the Galactic Concord was filled with thousands of alien delegates. They came from every corner of the galaxy. Some had scales that shimmered like diamonds. Others had tentacles that moved like water. A few floated in the air using technology humans could not understand. At least that is what the aliens believed. Ambassador Elena Vance walked through the crowd with her head held high. She was 60 years old with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind her walked two human guards in simple uniforms. Their weapons looked old and basic compared to the plasma rifles the other species carried. A tall creature with 4 arms and blue skin blocked her path. His name was Delegate Vorn, and he represented the Kathrani Empire. "Ah, the human ambassador," Vorn said with a laugh that sounded like grinding rocks. "Tell me, how is your little fleet? 200 ships, yes? My empire builds that many in a single month." Elena smiled politely. "We are a peaceful species, Delegate. We have no need for large fleets." "Peaceful?" Vorn leaned down, his breath hot and foul. "Or simply weak?" The aliens around them laughed. Elena kept her smile frozen on her face. Inside, she counted. That was the 4th insult today, the 307th this year. Humanity remembered every single one. "Perhaps," she said softly, and walked away. The summit began an hour later. Elena sat in humanity's small section at the back of the hall. Earth was a minor member of the Concord. They had joined 300 years ago after first contact. Back then, humanity had been excited to meet other life forms. They had believed the galaxy would welcome them as friends. They had been wrong. The galaxy was not a friendly place. The strong took what they wanted. The weak served or died. Humanity had no powerful weapons, no great fleet, no empire of conquered worlds. So the galaxy treated them like children, sometimes worse. The Supreme Chancellor, a massive creature that looked like a spider made of crystal, called the meeting to order. "We have received troubling news," the Chancellor announced. "The Zareth Dominion has withdrawn from the Concord." Whispers filled the hall. The Zareth Dominion was the most feared military power in the galaxy. They controlled 12,000 worlds. Their armies had never lost a war. Their warlord, Kethrava, was known as the Butcher of Worlds. "This means war," someone shouted. "They will conquer us all," another voice cried. Elena watched the chaos with calm eyes. She had expected this. Earth's intelligence services had predicted the Dominion's move 6 months ago. The aliens thought humans were primitive, but human spies had been inside every major government for 2 centuries. The galaxy's networks had been hacked before most of these delegates were born. The Chancellor tried to restore order. "We must unite against this threat. We must combine our fleets." Delegate Vorn stood up. "The Kathrani Empire has 8,000 warships. The Veloxi Federation has 5,000. What does humanity offer? 200 ancient vessels that would break apart in a real battle?" More laughter. Elena said nothing. "Perhaps the humans should simply surrender now," another delegate suggested. "Save us the trouble of protecting them." Elena stood slowly. The hall grew quiet. Despite their mockery, the aliens were curious what the human would say. "Earth will do what Earth has always done," she said. "We will survive." She walked out of the hall without another word. That night, Elena traveled to a location that did not exist on any map. Deep beneath the mountains of Switzerland, a bunker had been carved into the rock. It was older than the Galactic Concord, older than first contact. Humanity had started building it the moment they realized they were not alone in the universe. The High Council of Earth waited for her around a circular table. There were 12 of them. Presidents, generals, scientists, and one very old admiral named Marcus Chen. His hair was white as snow, but his eyes were sharp as broken glass. "Report," he said simply. Elena sat down. "The Dominion will attack within 6 months. The Concord will not help us. We are alone." "As expected," Admiral Chen said. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed the solar system. Then it zoomed out to show hidden locations scattered across human space. Hundreds of thousands of them. "Project Lazarus," Chen said. 300 years of preparation, 800,000 dreadnoughts. The largest fleet ever built by any species in galactic history. The other council members nodded. They all knew the secret. Every human leader for 3 centuries had known. Every worker who built the ships had known. Every family that sacrificed time with their loved ones had known. 8 billion humans across 100 colonies, all keeping the same secret. Do we reveal ourselves? Elena asked. Chen shook his head slowly. Not yet. The Dominion must commit fully to their attack. The galaxy must believe we are helpless. When the trap closes, it must close completely. A younger council member, General Santos, leaned forward. More of our people will die if we wait. The Dominion will attack our allies first. The Veloxi have been good to us. I know, Chen said. His voice was heavy with grief. I know what we are asking. But if we reveal our fleet too soon, the Dominion will retreat. They will prepare. They will build more ships. The war will last decades and cost trillions of lives. We must end this quickly. One battle, one victory, one message to the entire galaxy. Elena understood. It was cruel math. Sacrifice thousands now to save billions later. It was the kind of choice that had haunted human leaders throughout history. The Veloxi will think we abandoned them, she said. Yes, Chen agreed. They will hate us until they understand. Then they will forgive us. The meeting ended an hour later. As Elena walked to her transport, she passed a young officer standing guard at the door. He was maybe 25 years old, with the eager eyes of someone who had never seen war. Ambassador, he said quietly, may I ask a question? Elena stopped. Go ahead. How long do we keep pretending to be weak? My grandfather worked on Project Lazarus. My father did too. I have trained my whole life for a battle the galaxy does not know is coming. When do we stop hiding? Elena looked at the young man for a long moment. She saw the same frustration in his eyes that she felt in her heart. 300 years of insults. 300 years of patience. Soon, she said, when weakness is no longer an option, we will show them exactly who we are. She walked away into the darkness. Above her, hidden in the hollowed-out core of Earth's moon, 12,000 dreadnoughts waited in silence. They had waited for 3 centuries. They could wait a little longer, but not much longer. 6 months passed like a slow nightmare. The Zereth Dominion moved through the galaxy like a plague of fire. Their warships darkened the skies of peaceful worlds. Their soldiers marched through cities that had never known war. 3 species fell in the first month alone. Their names were erased from galactic maps. Their people became slaves or corpses. Captain Yuki Chen watched it all from the bridge of her small ship, the Silent Whisper. She was Admiral Marcus Chen's daughter, though few people knew this. Her mission was secret. Her ship was hidden. She was the eyes of humanity in a galaxy that was burning. Another refugee convoy destroyed, her communications officer reported. His voice was hollow with exhaustion. The Dominion is not taking prisoners anymore. Yuki gripped the arms of her command chair until her knuckles turned white. On her screen, she could see the wreckage of civilian ships. Families had been aboard, children, all of them gone now, scattered across the cold vacuum of space. Record everything, she ordered. Humanity needs to remember what we allowed to happen. Her crew exchanged uncomfortable glances. They understood their mission. They were not here to fight. They were here to watch and wait. But watching innocent people die was destroying them slowly from the inside. Back on Earth, Ambassador Elena Vance faced a different kind of war. The diplomatic kind. The kind fought with words that cut deeper than any blade. She stood before the Galactic Concord as delegate after delegate condemned humanity. The humans refused to send military aid, Delegate Vorn thundered. While the Dominion slaughters millions, Earth offers only blankets and food packages. Cowards. We have sent humanitarian support, Elena replied calmly. Our fleet is too small to make a difference in direct combat. Then what good are you? A delegate from the Morthax Collective threw a data pad at her. It bounced off her shoulder. My people are dying because you are too weak to help. Elena did not flinch. She had been trained for this. Every human diplomat had been trained for this. Absorb the anger, accept the hatred, never reveal the truth. I am sorry, she said. Earth will do what it can. When she returned to her quarters that night, she found a message waiting. It was from Admiral Chen. The Veloxi homeworld will be attacked in 30 days. The Dominion is sending 40,000 ships. We cannot intervene yet. I am sorry, Elena. I know they are your friends. Elena sat alone in the darkness for a long time. The Veloxi had been the only species to treat humanity with kindness. When Earth first joined the Concord, other species had mocked and ignored the young civilization. But the Veloxi had welcomed them. They had shared technology. They had defended human colonies from pirates. They had believed in humanity when no one else did. And now humanity would watch them die. At least that is what the galaxy would believe. The news broadcasts across the galaxy grew worse each day. Species that once stood proud now surrendered without fighting. The Dominion's fleet grew larger with every conquered world. They took ships, weapons, and slaves. Nothing could stop them. On the 32nd day, Warlord Kethrava appeared on every screen in the galaxy. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with skin like cracked stone and eyes that burned like dying stars. His voice was deep enough to shake mountains. "People of the galaxy," he announced, "your concord has failed you. Your leaders hide while my armies bring order to chaos. But I am not without mercy." He smiled, revealing teeth like broken knives. "I give humanity 30 cycles to surrender. Lay down your weapons. Open your borders. Bow before the Dominion, and you will be allowed to serve." The camera pulled back to show the Dominion's war fleet. Thousands upon thousands of ships filled the screen. Carriers that could destroy moons. Battleships that had burned entire civilizations. The largest military force ever assembled. "If you refuse," Kethrava continued, "I will come to your little planet myself. Your 200 ships will burn. Your cities will become ash. Your children will serve in my mines until they collapse from exhaustion." He laughed, a sound like planets cracking apart. 200 ships against my millions. I almost hope you refuse. It will be entertaining to watch you try. The broadcast ended. The galaxy waited for humanity's response. It came 3 hours later. Earth's government released a simple statement: "We will defend ourselves." The alien networks exploded with mockery. Humans were not brave, they said. Humans were simply stupid. 200 ships against 40,000? It was not a battle. It was a suicide note. Even humanity's allies turned away. The Veloxi ambassador came to Elena one last time. His name was Kelrath, and he had been her friend for 20 years. Now his eyes were filled with bitter disappointment. "We believed in you," he said quietly. "We defended you to the others. We said humans were special, that you had something the galaxy did not understand. And this is how you repay us? By hiding while we die?" Elena wanted to tell him the truth. The words burned in her throat like fire, but she could not speak. The secret was too important. Too many lives depended on the trap being perfect. "I am sorry, old friend," she whispered. Kelrath turned and walked away. He did not look back. That night, Captain Yuki Chen received new orders. Her hidden fleet of scout ships was to return to Sol System. The final battle was approaching. As her ship jumped through hyperspace, Yuki contacted her father through a secure channel. "How much longer?" she demanded. "I have watched innocent people die for 6 months." "Children, father. I watched children die while our fleet sat in the darkness, doing nothing." Admiral Chen's face was tired and old on the screen. He had aged 10 years and 6 months. "I know, Yuki. I have watched too. Every death is carved into my soul, but the time is almost here. The Veloxi think we abandoned them. Yes, and when this is over, we will spend the rest of our lives earning their forgiveness. But first, we must win. We must win so completely that no species ever threatens Earth again. We must win so the galaxy understands what humanity truly is." Yuki closed her eyes. "What are we, father?" "Patient," Admiral Chen replied. "We are the most patient species in the universe, and patience is about to become terror." The next day, the Dominion's fleet began its journey toward Sol System. 40,000 warships moved through space like a river of death. They expected an easy victory. They expected 200 primitive ships crewed by frightened humans. They had no idea what was waiting for them. In the deepest bunker on Earth, Admiral Chen stood before a console that connected to 800,000 dormant ships. Each one had been built in secret. Each one had been waiting for this moment for 300 years. He typed a single command and sent it across quantum encrypted channels that the galaxy did not know existed. The command was one word: awaken. Across the solar system, in hidden places the aliens had never discovered, ancient engines began to hum. Reactors that had slept for decades powered on. Weapon systems older than most galactic governments came online. The largest fleet in galactic history opened its eyes. And it was hungry. The Dominion fleet entered Sol system like a swarm of hungry insects. 40,000 warships spread across the darkness between planets. Each ship was covered in the scars of 100 victories. Each crew member had been trained since birth for war. They feared nothing because nothing had ever given them a reason to fear. Warlord Kethrava stood on the bridge of his flagship, the World Crusher. It was the largest battleship in the galaxy, 5 kilometers of metal and weapons designed to break civilizations. From his command throne, he watched Earth grow larger on the view screen. "A beautiful world," he said to his officers. "Blue and green and full of life. It will make a fine addition to my empire." His tactical officer bowed deeply. "The human fleet has assembled near Mars, my lord. 203 ships, light cruisers mostly, a few destroyers, nothing that could challenge us." Kethrava laughed. "Set course for Mars. I want the humans to see their death approaching slowly. Let them feel the despair." The Dominion fleet moved forward like a wall of steel and fire. On Mars, the human fleet waited. Captain Yuki Chen commanded the lead ship, the Defiant. It was an old vessel, built 70 years ago. Its engines wheezed. Its weapons were outdated. Against a single Dominion cruiser, it might survive 3 minutes. Against 40,000 ships, it would survive seconds. But Yuki was not afraid. She knew something the Dominion did not. "All ships, this is Captain Chen," she broadcast to her small fleet. "Today we play our part in the greatest performance in human history. The galaxy is watching. They expect us to die quickly. Let us disappoint them." Her crew answered with grim determination. They knew the plan. Every human in the fleet knew. They might die in the next hour, but their deaths would have meaning. The Dominion fleet closed the distance. 1 million kilometers, 500,000, 200,000. Kethrava opened a communication channel. His face appeared on every screen in the human fleet. "Humans," he said with a smile like a wound, "I admire your courage. Foolish courage, but courage nonetheless. Surrender now, and I will let your crews live as slaves. Fight, and I will personally watch each of you torn apart in the vacuum." Yuki answered him. "We have a saying on Earth, Warlord. It goes, 'Do not count your chickens before they hatch.'" Kethrava blinked his massive eyes. "What is a chicken?" "You will find out soon enough." The communication ended. Kethrava shrugged. "Destroy them." The battle began. Human ships scattered like leaves in a storm as Dominion weapons opened fire. The small fleet used every trick they knew. They hid behind asteroids. They used Mars itself as a shield. They launched missiles and mines in desperate counterattacks. They fought like cornered animals because that is exactly what they were pretending to be. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the live broadcast. Most species had prepared speeches mourning humanity's extinction. Others had already begun dividing up Earth's colonies among themselves. A few, like the Veloxi, watched in silent grief. "Another human ship destroyed," a Dominion officer reported with satisfaction. 172 remain." "Too slow," Kethrava growled. "I want this finished. All ships, concentrate fire." The Dominion fleet pressed its attack. Human ships exploded one after another. Each destruction was met with cheers from Dominion crews. They were winning. Of course they were winning. How could they lose against such a primitive enemy? Yuki's ship, the Defiant, took a direct hit to its engines. The vessel spun out of control, trailing smoke and fire. Emergency systems screamed warnings. Half her crew was injured or dead. "Captain," her navigator shouted, "3 Dominion destroyers are moving to finish us." Yuki looked at the view screen. She could see the enemy ships approaching, their weapons already glowing with charged energy. This was the moment. This was the darkness before the dawn. She opened a channel to the approaching ships. The Dominion captains appeared on her screen, their faces twisted with cruel amusement. "A final message before you die, human?" one of them asked. Yuki smiled. It was not the smile of a dying woman. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret that would change everything. "You wanted to see our fleet," she said. "Look behind you." The Dominion captains frowned. One of them turned to check his sensors. His face went pale. "That is impossible," he whispered. Across the solar system, space itself began to crack open. Hidden doors that had been sealed for centuries revealed themselves. The hollowed-out moons of Jupiter and Saturn split apart like eggs. Asteroid fields that were not asteroid fields came alive. Pocket dimensions that human scientists had created in secret tore holes in reality. And from these hidden places, ships emerged. Not hundreds, not thousands. Hundreds of thousands. Kethrava stared at his tactical display with a face frozen in disbelief. Numbers scrolled across his screen faster than he could read. His tactical officer was screaming something, but the words made no sense. 800,000 contacts, the officer finally managed. Each one larger than our biggest battleships. "My lord, they are surrounding us." The Dominion fleet was suddenly very small and very alone. Admiral Marcus Chen's voice echoed across every frequency in the solar system. It reached Dominion ships. It reached Earth. It reached every broadcast network that was watching humanity's extinction become something else entirely. "For 300 years you called us weak," the Admiral said. His voice was calm, almost gentle, like a grandfather telling a story. "For 300 years we let you. We smiled at your insults. We bowed at your threats. We accepted our place at the back of the galactic stage." The human dreadnoughts moved into formation. They were beautiful in a terrifying way. 12 kilometers long, each one. Black holes covered in weapons that the galaxy had never seen. Engines that burned with blue fire. Names painted on their sides in letters large enough to read from space. Vengeance. Defiance. Remember Earth. Never again. Silent Fury. 800,000 ships. 800,000 names. Each one chosen by the workers who built them. Each one carrying 3 centuries of patience and anger. "You asked us once what humanity was," Admiral Chen continued. "You decided we were prey. You decided we were victims waiting to happen. You were wrong." Kethrava finally found his voice. "This changes nothing. My fleet will fight. My soldiers do not fear death." "I know," Chen replied. "That is why I am giving you one chance to surrender. One chance to live. Take it, warlord. Take it, because in 3 minutes I will give an order that will end your empire forever." The Dominion fleet was frozen. 40,000 ships surrounded by 20 times their number. Every escape route blocked. Every weapon outmatched. The hunters had become the hunted in the span of heartbeats. On the Defiant, Yuki Chen watched the dreadnoughts take position around her crippled ship. Rescue vessels were already approaching. Medical teams were already preparing. Her communications officer was crying. "Captain, the Veloxy frequency, they are hailing us." Yuki opened the channel. Ambassador Kelrast's face appeared on the screen. His eyes were wide with shock and something that might have been hope. "Yuki," he whispered, "what is happening?" Yuki smiled through the blood on her face. "We never abandoned you, old friend. We were never weak. We were waiting." In the silence of space, surrounded by the largest fleet ever built, the Dominion waited for humanity's final word. And humanity was just getting started. Warlord Kethrava had conquered 12,000 worlds. He had burned civilizations that existed before his species learned to walk. He had never known defeat. He had never known fear. Now he knew both. "Tactical analysis," he demanded, his voice cracking for the first time in his long life. "How did they hide this many ships? Our intelligence services mapped every human system." His tactical officer was shaking so badly he could barely read his screens. "My lord, these ships, they were built inside moons, inside asteroids. Some of them appear to have been stored in folded space pockets. Technology we did not know humans possessed. Technology we did not know anyone possessed." Kethrava slammed his fist against his throne. "It must be a trick. Holograms, fake signals." As if to answer him, one of the human dreadnoughts moved forward. It passed within 50 kilometers of the World Crusher, close enough for Kethrava to see it with his own eyes through the observation windows. It was no hologram. The ship was called the Inheritance. Its hull was covered in names, millions of names etched into the metal in tiny letters. Kethrava later learned these were the names of every human who had died since first contact, every victim of alien cruelty, every soul that humanity swore to avenge. Admiral Chen's voice returned. "You have 30 seconds to surrender, Warlord. Use them wisely." "I will not surrender to insects," Kethrava roared. "All ships, attack formation. We die with honor." Some Dominion captains obeyed. Others did not. Those who attacked learned something terrible. Human dreadnoughts were not just bigger than Dominion ships. They were better. Weapons that cut through Dominion shields like paper. Armor that absorbed plasma blasts without scratching. Engines that moved 12-kilometer ships like fighters. The humans had not just hidden their numbers. They had hidden 3 centuries of technological advancement. The first wave of attacking Dominion ships lasted 14 seconds. The second wave lasted 8. After that, no more waves came. "Enough," Admiral Chen said quietly. "Dominion fleet, this is your final chance. Power down your weapons and surrender. Any ship that does so will be treated with mercy. Any ship that does not will be destroyed." One by one, Dominion ships began to go dark. Weapons powered down. Engines stopped. 40,000 warships surrendered to a fleet they could not see an hour ago. All except the World Crusher. Kethrava stood alone on his bridge. His officers had fled or surrendered. His guards had dropped their weapons. Only the Warlord remained, staring at the human fleet with eyes full of hate and confusion. "Why?" he whispered to himself. "Why hide? You could have ruled the galaxy. You could have conquered us all 300 years ago. Why pretend to be weak?" A communication request appeared. Captain Yuki Chen's face appeared on his screen. Her ship had been rescued, her wounds treated. She looked tired but satisfied. "You want to know why?" she said. It was not a question. "Yes." Kethrava sat heavily on his throne. "You had the power to dominate every species you met. Instead, you let us mock you. Let us threaten you. Let us believe we were your superiors. Why?" Yuki considered the question. "Do you know the history of Earth, Warlord? Before we joined the stars, we fought each other. Wars that lasted decades. Wars that killed millions. We learned something from all that suffering." "What?" "That true strength is not about domination. It is about choice. We could have conquered the galaxy. But what would that make us? Just another empire of bullies and tyrants." Yuki shook her head. "We wanted something better. We wanted to believe the galaxy would accept us as equals, without force. We were wrong about that. But we hoped." Kethrava laughed bitterly. "Hope? A foolish concept. Maybe. But when hope failed, we had a backup plan. 800,000 backup plans, to be precise." Yuki leaned forward. "We did not build this fleet to conquer, Warlord. We built it to send a message. A message that every species in the galaxy will remember forever." "What message?" "Never mistake kindness for weakness." The words hung in the air like a verdict. Kethrava closed his eyes. In that moment, he understood everything. The humans had given the galaxy 300 years to prove it could be peaceful. The galaxy had failed the test. Now the humans would teach a different lesson. "What happens now?" the Warlord asked. "Now you surrender. You face justice for your crimes. Your empire is dismantled. The species you conquered are freed." Yuki paused. "But you will live. That is more than you gave your victims." Kethrava nodded slowly. "And if I refuse? If I order my ship to attack? Then you die quickly. And nothing changes except there is one less tyrant in the universe." For a long moment, the Warlord sat in silence. Then slowly, he reached for his communications console. "This is Warlord Kethrava to all Dominion forces. Stand down. We surrender. The war is over." Across the galaxy, beings watched in stunned disbelief. The invincible Dominion had been broken in less than an hour. Not by a coalition of species, not by some ancient power, by humanity. The species everyone had dismissed as primitive and weak. The Galactic Concord's headquarters erupted in chaos. Delegates who had mocked humans now scrambled to send messages of congratulations and friendship. Ambassadors who had thrown things at Elena Vance now begged for meetings. The galaxy's entire political structure shifted in the time it took to draw a breath. But the humans were not finished. Even as the Dominion surrendered, 100,000 dreadnoughts broke away from the main fleet. They turned toward the Veloxi homeworld, which had been expecting a Dominion invasion any day. Instead, they received a different kind of visitor. Ambassador Kelrath was standing in his government's emergency bunker when the sensors reported the approaching fleet. His people screamed in terror. They assumed it was the Dominion come to finish them. Then the identification codes came through. Human codes, friendly codes. Kelrath rushed to the communication center. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen. "Ambassador," Chen said with a slight bow, "I apologize for the deception. I know your people believe we had abandoned you. I know you lost faith in humanity. But I want you to understand, we never stopped thinking about you. We never stopped caring. We simply needed to wait for the right moment." Kelrath was crying. He did not care who saw. "You came. You actually came." 100,000 ships, Chen confirmed. "Enough to protect your homeworld from any threat. They will stay as long as you need them." He paused. "I know trust must be rebuilt. I know words are not enough. But I give you my promise, Kelrath. Humanity will never abandon the Veloxi again." In the emergency bunker, Veloxi officials wept and embraced. Their world would survive. Their children would grow up free. And the species they had befriended 3 centuries ago had proven worthy of that friendship in ways they never imagined. Back in Sol's system, the cleanup began. Dominion ships were escorted to holding areas. Crews were processed and treated fairly, as the humans had promised. Kethrava was taken into custody, destined for trial but not execution. Humanity did not believe in killing prisoners, even prisoners who deserved it. Captain Yuki Chen stood on the observation deck of a rescue ship, watching the dreadnoughts move through space like mountains given life. Beside her stood Ambassador Elena Vance, who had traveled from Earth to witness the aftermath. "We did it," Elena said quietly. 300 years of planning, 300 years of secrecy. It is over." Yuki nodded. "Over? No. This is just the beginning. Now comes the hard part." "What hard part?" "Showing the galaxy that we are not like the Dominion, that having the biggest fleet does not make us tyrants." Yuki turned to face the older woman. "We have proven we are strong. Now we must prove we are good." Elena smiled. It was the first genuine smile she had allowed herself in years. "I think we can manage that." Across the galaxy, trillions of beings went to sleep that night, with one thought echoing in their minds. The humans had been hiding something all along. Not just ships, not just technology. They had been hiding their true nature. And now the galaxy would have to learn what that meant. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Sol. The galaxy was still adjusting to its new reality. Everything everyone had believed about humanity was wrong. Every assumption had crumbled. Every joke about weak humans had become ash in the mouths of those who told them. The Zereth Dominion was no more. Its 12,000 worlds were now independent. Its armies had been disbanded. Its weapons had been destroyed. The species that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries had been broken in a single day. But here was the strangest part. Humanity took nothing. They did not claim Dominion territory. They did not demand tribute or slaves. They did not even keep the weapons they captured. After freeing the conquered worlds, human ships simply left. They returned to their hidden bases and went back to sleep, waiting for a threat that might never come. This confused the galaxy more than the fleet itself. Delegate Vorn, the same Kethrani who had mocked Ambassador Vance for years, requested a private meeting. He came alone, without guards, and knelt before her in her office. "I do not understand," he admitted. "You could rule everything. You could make every species bow to you. Why do you not?" Elena looked at the alien kneeling on her floor. She remembered every insult he had given her, every cruel laugh, every time he had called humans worthless and primitive. She could have destroyed him with a word. She could have made his entire species serve humanity forever. Instead, she offered him her hand and helped him stand. "Because power is not about what you can take," she said gently. "It is about what you choose not to take. Rise, Delegate Vorn. You do not kneel to humanity. No one does. That is the whole point." Vorn stared at her with new eyes. For the first time, he truly saw the species he had despised for so long. They were not weak. They were not primitive. They were simply better than he was, and they were kind enough not to rub it in. I was wrong about you, he said quietly. Yes, you were, Elena smiled. But you have the chance to be right from now on. That is what matters. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Species that had ignored humanity now sent ambassadors bearing gifts. Elena politely declined most of them. Humanity did not need gold or technology or territory. They had everything they needed. What they wanted was something no gift could provide. Respect earned through choice, not fear. The galactic concord dissolved in chaos. It had been built on the assumption that the strong dominated the weak. That assumption no longer made sense. A new organization would need to be created, one where every species was truly equal. Humanity volunteered to help design it, but refused to lead it. We will be partners, Admiral Chen announced to the founding assembly. Not rulers, not protectors, partners. If you face a threat you cannot handle alone, we will stand beside you, but we will not stand above you. Some species did not believe him. They waited for the trap. They waited for humans to reveal their true nature as conquerors. Months passed, and the trap never came. Human ships helped rebuild destroyed worlds. Human doctors healed victims of Dominion cruelty. Human engineers shared technology that could have been kept secret. Slowly, trust began to grow. Not the trust of fear, the trust of genuine friendship. The Veloxi became humanity's closest allies. Ambassador Kelrath visited Earth personally to thank Admiral Chen. They met in a garden in Japan, surrounded by cherry blossoms that fell like pink snow. You saved my world, Kelrath said. You saved billions of my people. I spent months hating you for abandoning us, and all that time, you were preparing to rescue us. I do not have words for what I feel. Chen was old now. The stress of 300 years of planning had finally caught up with him. His hair was thin and white, his hands trembled slightly, but his eyes were at peace. We owed you a debt, Chen replied. When humanity was young and afraid, the Veloxi were kind to us. You shared your knowledge. You defended our colonies. You treated us as equals when no one else did. We remembered, Kelrath. Humans always remember. Is that why you built the fleet? To repay debts? Chen shook his head slowly. We built the fleet because the universe is not fair, because the strong often hurt the weak, because we learned long ago that hoping for peace is not enough. You must be strong enough to protect peace when hope fails. He looked up at the falling blossoms. We hoped we would never need those ships. We prepared anyway. That is what it means to be human. Kelrath considered this for a long moment. And now? What will humanity do now? Now we teach others what we learned. We help them become strong enough to protect themselves. And then, Chen smiled, then we go back to being a quiet species in the corner of the galaxy, watching, waiting, hoping we never need to wake those ships again. A memorial was built on Mars near the spot where the human decoy fleet had fought its desperate battle. 12,000 names were carved into black stone. These were the humans who died selling the deception. They had fought knowing rescue was coming, knowing their deaths would be remembered. Captain Yuki Chen visited the memorial on its opening day. She walked alone among the names, touching the carved letters of friends she had lost. Commander James Wright, Lieutenant Sarah Park, Ensign Michael Torres. So many names, so many lives given to protect a secret. A young journalist approached her cautiously. He was from the Galactic News Network, an alien broadcasting company that had once mocked humanity daily. Captain Chen, he said nervously, may I ask you a question? Yuki turned to face him. Go ahead. Why did these people fight? They knew they were outmatched. They knew the real fleet was hidden. Why did they not simply retreat? Yuki looked back at the memorial. Because the deception had to be perfect. If even one person surrendered, if even one crew revealed the truth, everything would have failed. These men and women gave their lives so the galaxy would believe humanity was dying. They sold our weakness with their blood. The journalist was silent for a moment. That is, very human. Yes, Yuki agreed. It is. Years passed. The galaxy changed in ways no one had predicted. Without the threat of conquest, species that had been enemies began talking. Wars that had lasted centuries ended with handshakes. Trade routes opened between worlds that had never known peace. And through it all, humanity remained humble. They did not parade their fleet through alien capitals. They did not demand worship or tribute. They attended diplomatic functions and smiled politely at jokes about their secret ships and never corrected anyone who underestimated them. Because that was the final lesson. True power did not need to show off. True strength did not need to be feared. Humanity had proven what they were capable of. They did not need to prove it again. A new saying spread across the galaxy. Parents whispered it to their children. Teachers taught it in schools. Leaders reminded themselves of it before making difficult decisions. Beware the species that smiles when you threaten them. They are not afraid. They are waiting. On Earth, in the deep bunker where Project Lazarus had been commanded, a new plaque was installed. It listed the names of everyone who had contributed to the secret fleet. Billions of names. Workers, scientists, soldiers, families. 300 years of humanity working together for a single purpose. The plaque's inscription read, "We built this fleet hoping we would never use it. We used it hoping we would never need to again. Let these ships sleep forever. Let peace be our legacy." And deep in the hollowed-out moons and hidden asteroid bases and folded space pockets, 800,000 dreadnoughts rested in silence. Their engines were cold. Their weapons were dark. Their crews had returned to civilian life. They waited. They hoped they would wait forever. But if the galaxy ever forgot the lesson of Sul, if tyrants ever rose again, if the strong ever tried to crush the weak, the ships would wake, the engines would burn, the weapons would sing, and humanity would remind the universe once more that kindness is not weakness. It is simply strength that chooses to be gentle, until it cannot afford to be gentle anymore.